When it's time to begin, it's on the Review-A-Wai with John Pollock and Wai Ting, the A-team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Review-A-Wai for Monday night, download a Tuesday morning from the Fight Network site. It's Review-A-Wai for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the Mic.
Welcome to a special edition of Review-A-Wai. I am John Pollock, the man to my right, your left. He is not Wai Ting, he is Jimmy Corderas. And look at Jimmy busting out the guns here for this week's edition of Review-A-Wai.
My guns have been doctored, apparently.
Those are some weapons of mass destruction, Jimmy.
I don't know to who, but
well,
to myself it looks like. Actually, it looks like I'm about to hit myself.
Look at that. Jimmy Corderas in living color here in the Review-A-Wai studios.
If you will.
Lots to discuss coming out of this weekend with SummerSlam on Sunday night, and we're going to dive right into things from Raw Monday night, their third straight night at the Barclays Center. First of all, 3 consecutive nights at Barclays Center, 3 consecutive sellouts. I mean, in the same arena, in a venue of that size. I mean, this is a really remarkable weekend for the company, especially with NXT, which we can say over the past weekend has graduated now from just being at a level people viewed it as into, realistically, this is a second touring brand that you can now take on the road and do significant business with.
Absolutely. And from my understanding was originally the Barclays Center was set up for the NXT show around 4,000, 5,000 seats. It was going to be kind of like a cutoff arena kind of deal. But the demand was so huge, especially considering they were having SummerSlam and Raw the next night in the same building. To try and do 3 nights and try to sell out the entire building for 3 nights is a remarkable feat. And they did it. And like you said, it's become a second touring brand. It's almost like...
This was what they wanted, I think, with Raw and SmackDown, where you can honestly look at the main roster in NXT and they feel completely different. I think that most people, they can see the production values, but the parallels there are certainly, you can see it's under the umbrella, but such different presentations of professional wrestling.
Exactly, and that's the key to it. The different presentations, it's giving the audience an alternative to the main roster brand that they see every week on Raw and on SmackDown. And people are liking it, especially the hardcore, the diehards, which is what NXT is catering to. And it's working. And now that they're making it a touring brand, we found out now that they're going to England for an extended tour, I think 6 or 7
They're doing, December 10th to 16th at major arenas. And I would think it's almost a given next January, the Royal Rumble is in Orlando at the new Amway Center.
Right.
I would think that's just a natural, when you're in Orlando, that they'll run a huge special that weekend. And for the big events, I think putting an NXT show on the Saturday night makes all the sense in the world.
It absolutely does. And it's kind of like, people talk about the era of the Monday Night War and that, and how competition breeds, a better product. People, guys get pushed on the main roster because the guys at WCW were pushing them, and WWE was pushing them, and that sort of thing. It's almost like they've created their own competition.
The streaming wars.
Yes, exactly.
On their own network.
On their own network for only $9.99 if you're in the States, $11.99 here in Canada. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling. I think they've touched a chord here, and there's wrestling pundits out there. I always look back to Jim Cornette, who keeps saying, what is needed is an alternative to the WWE brand, and you're getting it with NXT, even though it's still under the WWE umbrella.
We are going to dive into Raw from Monday night at the aforementioned Barclays Center. And the show started off with Triple H from earlier in the day alongside Seth Rollins at WWE headquarters. And Hunter telling Rollins he is no longer the future of the WWE. You are the man. And comparing him to other men that they have erected statues for. Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant, and the Ultimate Warrior. And tonight, they are going to unveil Seth Rollins' statue, and this would be the show-long angle until the unveiling of Seth Rollins' statue. And then off the top, they announced a rematch from Sunday night involving Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose against Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper, and then it kicked off with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming out. And Lesnar, this guy he got cut during the match with The Undertaker. Looked like he did not decide to take a shower since Sunday night. I mean, he had blood splattered all over his face. I mean, this man looked like he had just gone out hunting with his bare hands and just didn't seem to clean himself up after.
Well, he was in Brooklyn, so maybe he did do some hunting out there. Yeah.
So
different kind than bear hunting.
Lesnar is out looking like a monster. And Paul Heyman, they replayed The Undertaker tapping, and Paul Heyman goes into all of The Undertaker's nonsense about being dead. He then burst the bubble for many children in the audience, stating there is no Easter Bunny and there is no Santa Claus.
There isn't?
And this is the babyface Paul Heyman. And said that he was tapped out by Lesnar, but he doesn't blame the referee nor the timekeeper, and brings up the fact that The Undertaker collapsed again after the match on Sunday night, and it's all over the internet, which there was a video as The Undertaker was going to the back, kind of stumbling as he was about to get backstage. That video was circulating, so Heyman bringing that up to emphasize his point, and says that he is threatening to stay out here for all 3 hours and talk, which got quite a positive reaction from the crowd to hear this, and says that The Undertaker got desperate and went for the low blow in order to get the victory, and that Lesnar wants one more match with The Undertaker, and he doesn't want it at any other event. He wants it tonight in Brooklyn. Crowd goes nuts for this. I don't think they learned anything from the night after Mania when they challenged Seth Rollins to mixed results. He got suspended for that one. And then the call is answered by Bo Dallas, who comes out saying that Lesnar tapped out. He had a dream, but then woke up and tells Lesnar to leave, and Lesnar proceeded to deliver 4 German suplexes. He went to leave when Heyman suggested a 5th. Then Lesnar returned again for an F5, murdering Bo Dallas over the course of 5 minutes. And this was our only appearances from Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. No Undertaker on tonight's show, and kind of leaving it open in terms of what is next.
Yeah, obviously this is leading down the road to the rubber match, the aforementioned rubber match. Where it happens is going to be the question. It makes perfect sense for it to happen at WrestleMania and maybe make it The Undertaker's swan song. If that's not the game
Unless they have another plan for The Undertaker, and maybe he does another match before WrestleMania.
So that in that case, I would like to see it happen. If it's not going to happen at Mania and there's other plans for both of these guys to go in different directions for Mania, maybe Royal Rumble. That way you can also, and I know people won't like this, it'll keep Brock Lesnar out of the actual Royal Rumble match.
Right.
Because how do you eliminate Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble match and end up getting the same reaction you got when Daniel Bryan got eliminated?
Yeah, well, they're on a 2-year losing streak with that Royal Rumble match, so I think they really need to sit down and craft this Rumble out and not be dumb like they were this past year especially.
So you don't want the hat trick to happen this year and have Brock Lesnar eliminated by a vengeful Bo Dallas or something who got Bowplexed. I'm going to call it Bowplex.
Oh, wow. There you go. Maybe we'll have a bull fit, and maybe Bo Dallas and Bull Dempsey. They're going to find each other at some point. But Bo Dallas getting just annihilated during this opening segment, and I don't know if we'll see Brock Lesnar before that October 3rd Madison Square Garden house show, which I wonder who they pair him with. If it's just another throwaway match, if they go kind of the same direction, it would not surprise me if they do Brock Lesnar and Bo Dallas on that show. And it's a similar match to what we saw with Kofi and Brock at the Beast in the East special.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It accomplishes its purpose. I mean, it shows off Brock being a beast, and you don't really hurt anyone else in the process.
It's not a money match you're giving away. It's a Brock Lesnar appearance.
Exactly.
That is being sold on the network and to those at Madison Square Garden. So can't say there was much definitive coming out of that main event. You don't really know what the next step is. I would assume Kane coming back could somehow get involved with Brock Lesnar as kind of a holdover until you do that eventual third match with The Undertaker. Each week on Review-A-Raw, pay attention for the secret question. You can tweet the answer at Law Radio every week for your chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Next week on Impact Wrestling, 3 TNA championships will be on the line as the Wolves defend the TNA World Tag Team Championship against the Revolution. The voluptuous Velvet Sky challenges the vivacious Brooke for the TNA Knockouts Championship, and Tigre Uno defends his X Division Championship against DJZ and Sonjay Dutt. Plus, who's behind the mysterious attacks going on backstage? Drew Galloway wants answers. Next week on Impact Wrestling.
Next match, the primetime players were on commentary, and then we had Kofi Kingston and Big E come out, and they bring out Xavier Woods on the trombone.
Tremendous. Which
JBL, he was so proud of this line, stating that Xavier Woods was taught by Chief J Trombo. And, awesome line. I laughed. And then he used it about 5,000 more times during this match to the point Michael Cole told him to, dude, shut up. We got it. Chief J Trombo.
I don't know which was worse. The line JBL threw with the Chief J Trombo or the Demi Lovato song that we've been hearing incessantly for the last few weeks.
Nothing kills a song more than sitting through a WWE event and listening to that theme song that you just want to, your head explodes. God, by the end of that NXT show that We Like It Loud, I wanted it silent by the end of that TakeOver special.
I can't listen to CeeLo Green now because of SummerSlam a few years ago. What's the other one? That Hey-O song that from...
Oh, the Chili Peppers one that they went back with.
Ruined a good thing.
They love playing those songs to death on these shows. But a song that I could hear a number of times, even though it was not exactly Frank Sinatra that was reciting this. We got Xavier and Big E doing New York, New York. This was not as seamless as the night before doing the Alicia Keys tune. But these guys, they probably never want to leave New York just because of the song options that they have. These guys were fantastic here. This entrance was great, much like Sunday's was. And the New Day, their biggest struggle is going to be maintaining a heel reaction because this crowd, even as they were insulting New York, this crowd, it was all New Day rocks after this because they're so damn entertaining.
They are, and that's the hard thing nowadays, especially with the heel team or heels in general, and why I like what Seth Rollins is doing right now so much. Is the audience has changed so much, it's very difficult to be a heel and get a true heel reaction from the crowd. Like we said, when New Day were baby faces, they were getting booed.
They couldn't buy a reaction.
No, I'd like to buy a reaction, Pat. It just didn't work. But now they are so, like you said, they're so entertaining that you don't want to boo them even when they, rip your city.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And this whole thing, I love the trombone. The trombone thing today was tremendous.
The trombone thing was hilarious to us at home, but I'm telling you, Xavier Woods has ribbed himself because they are going to tell him the trombone stays, and you're taking that thing on the road to every single city, through every single airport. That trombone is now your tennis racket. It's your megaphone. You've got the trombone. Xavier Woods, he should have picked like a flute or something compact because a trombone ain't one. I played the clarinet in grade school. Hated that thing, but it was compact. And that's why I picked it. I wanted something small to carry home.
It's kind of like the Money in the Bank briefcase. Again, it's a blessing and a curse all at the same time because you got to carry that thing around. Imagine going through airport security and you've got the Money in the Bank briefcase, and TSA, who are not usually wrestling fans, look at you like you're...
I think that was what Lance Storm said when he was in WCW, and they put the U.S. title on him, and then they put the Cruiserweight title on him, and then they put the Hardcore title on him.
The Saskatchewan Heavyweight International
the SHIT title.
Yes.
And then he had to carry 3 titles around. It was almost a joke on him.
Yeah.
Anyway, the match begins. Kofi Kingston and Big E, the new tag champions, New Day, defending against the Lucha Dragons. Sin Cara did the monkey flip spot, sending Kalisto into a spinning splash onto Kofi. Kalisto then was caught by New Day on the floor. Sin Cara hit a suicide dive. They went through the break. Woods is playing the trombone on the floor during the match, and it was just hilarious. And then the finish was the New Day. They hit their double team finish as Xavier Woods. And this is like, I'm here hearing the tune, and all of a sudden, you and I both look at each other. He's like, he's playing taps.
Yeah.
He's playing taps. The natural was that they apply a submission, and the dude taps out. But no, they got a pinfall at 6:18. This trombone is staying 100%.
I think they talk about catching lightning in a bottle. They caught lightning in a bottle with the trombone. The only thing missing was Santino coming out with his fake trombone.
Yeah, smart thinking on Santino's part. The trombone
he was
gimmick,
ahead of the curve.
invisible.
He's ahead of the curve there. It almost makes me wish I refereed with my saxophone from back in the. Anyways,
The Dudley Boys show up at the end of this match, and this arena goes insane. They attack the New Day. Kofi takes a back body drop from the ring to the floor. Big bump. And then Bubba hits the bionic elbow to Big E, and then they deliver the what's up to Xavier Woods, a commercial, Jimmy, that came out in the year 2000. It is still being spoofed by the Dudley Boys. Then they called for the tables, and they put Woods through the wooden table with the 3D.
pun intended?
Oh, very much intended.
Okay.
The Dudleys are back.
Yeah,
and feuding with the New Day.
You know what? This is like you talked about before. This is a good move because you talk about needing veterans to work with the young talent to mentor them along and to teach, and that's what a little bit was lacking in NXT. NXT, you had a whole bunch of young talent there, but they were all working with each other. It was young talent working with young talent.
Yep.
Except for when you're in training with the trainers. So when you go out to do shows, you're not learning from an experienced vet. You guys are trying different stuff, and you're both learning. That's changed now with the addition of guys like Samoa Joe down there, who's going to really help a lot and stuff like that. But this is what's happening now with the Dudley Boys, with this influx of new talent coming up and new tag teams that they have to work with. Here's two mentors that could really help these guys along.
Yeah, and I mean, from my understanding, I mean, they had been kind of earmarking the Dudleys for a return for some time, and there was the point where Rowan and Harper were doing the 3D, and then Rowan got hurt. It wouldn't surprise me if they eventually do get back to that program when Rowan's healthy, but obviously the Wyatts are preoccupied with something else we'll get to. I think this is a great addition to what is still, there are a lot of young guys on this roster, and to have the Dudleys in there that you can work with. It's going to be a real battle, though, for the Dudleys to stay baby faces, I feel, with the New Day, because they are just so entertaining. But that seems to be the program that they are going to be going with. And certainly there's going to be that immediate nostalgia for the Dudleys being back, which the WWE trumpeted, not trombone, trumpeted. The fact that they had not been on WWE TV for 10 years.
Where have they been?
Begging the question, where have they been for this past decade?
Think them and Sting have been hanging out for the last 10 years. Sting was there 4 years before them, and then the Dudleys joined them a couple of years later.
They've been hanging out. It's parts unknown. Then they showed some highlights of Jon Stewart attacking John Cena and all the mainstream coverage that this received coming out of SummerSlam. And then Hunter and Stephanie are backstage with the Seth Rollins statue, which we in fact did get to see. This statue exists. And the face with the hair looks scarily similar to Triple H.
A little bit, yeah. I thought
the full length of it, yes. From neck down, it's all modeled after Rollins. But that face with the hair, I mean, it's a dead ringer for Triple H.
Yeah, if you cut the hair on the statue, it's Hunter.
So, showing us the statue, which has been designed, and then Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose against Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Certainly this suggested some kind of an angle based on how definitive the finish was on Sunday. No real need to continue this unless there was a reason, which there would be. The suicide dive. Me and Jimmy were discussing this during this match. I think the suicide dive, we need to, pump the brakes on this particular move. This has become just a standard of so many guys, and the reaction is nil.
No, people have become numb to it because you see it, and you've seen big guys do it, small guys do it, in-between size guys do it. It's overdone now. It's like this, charging the guy against the ropes, and he pulls the rope down low bridges, and the guy goes over the top. For a while there, that happened every show like 4 or 5 times.
Right. So. Ambrose was the prime offender during this match of the suicide dive, and then Reigns hit the drive-by off the floor, which is his running seated drop kick on the apron, and then went through the commercial break. Reigns eventually got a hot tag after the heat on Ambrose, went for the Superman punch and was caught, and then Reigns with a judo throw.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, a good description because they are throwing everything at this guy just to try and get him over. He drinks beer. He knows judo. I mean, just Roman Reigns is in a very weird spot right now. And I can't say he's in a wrong spot. It's not like I feel he's being overpushed or underpushed. I think he's in the spot he should be in, but it's a real come down from the guy that was your top guy going into WrestleMania this year in that main event with Brock Lesnar. And he's kind of just in place at this point in a mid-card program. And maybe that's where he should be at this point.
Yeah, maybe this is the right placement for him right now because he at WrestleMania last year, he was pegged to be the anointed one, which didn't work out that way. So, maybe this is the right course for him. Maybe down the road, maybe and people talk about maybe Roman Reigns should turn heel and there should be a heel turn for Roman Reigns. But then you're running into the same problems you're going to have with John Cena. You turn Roman Reigns heel, those guys who booed him are going to say, that's cool. I wanted to see the real Roman Reigns. He's going to get cheered again. So
I feel with Roman Reigns, I just think that he's a guy that is significantly handicapped by just the current model of presenting a lot of characters where I feel that Roman Reigns does have a very likable personality of the guy, of Joe Anawahi, that just doesn't really come onto the screen, and he's kind of bound by the limitations that a lot of guys do on television, and I think he's just one of those guys that has to find a way. It's not all that unlike the New Day. Not that Roman Reigns needs a trombone, but that these were guys that were getting it. They felt like they were saddled with this horrible gimmick, and then they got together and they found creative ways to get their personalities across, and that's the game. That is the system that you are limited with all of these promos and what you can do, and it's finding your way around it to connect with people, and that's the challenge for a lot of guys.
Well, maybe the one start could be of all the three guys from former Shield members, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have both changed their look. Mm-hmm. Roman Reigns basically has stayed pretty much the same, other than some cosmetic differences on his little armor, his vest. Maybe a little change in attire would help. I don't know if that's something.
Well, another performer has given up his spandex shorts, so maybe Ziggler wear might be in Reigns' future.
I don't know. You know what? And there's a young lady that I work with somewhere else who has this massive crush on Roman Reigns, so I'm assuming that he is appealing to the ladies.
Oh, well, that'll do him wonders with some of these crowds.
No, but, in that case, why wouldn't you try to,
Oh, don't cover the guy up
as much. Yeah, I don't know. Would that work? I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitballing here.
Put him in a singlet. Maybe that's the key for Roman Reigns.
I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe just a change, something other than shieldish attire.
Catch daily podcasts from the Live Audio Wrestling family up at FightNetwork.com. Subscribe on iTunes or listen on the free Stitcher app. The match continues with Harper super kicking both, and then Ambrose and Reigns, they're double teaming Bray. He's fed for the Superman punch. Dean then dives to Harper on the floor. Reigns sets up for the Superman punch when the lights go out, and there appears Braun Strowman, who has not made it onto television at NXT yet, but someone in the developmental system. He had a black sheep mask on and was later identified as Sister Abigail's Black Sheep, as the name that he had been brought up with. Braun Strowman, he was a strong man, brought in. I think this is the right way to introduce someone who is extremely green. I mean, this guy wasn't even on television yet in NXT, so he's probably best suited to be in six-mans, but this is going to be a giant leap for a guy onto the main roster into a pushed position like this.
Right, and the key here is, again, in the old Paul Heyman style of what we do with this guy, just, accentuate what he can do and don't let him do what he can't do, and
Well, they're batting 1,000 because this, I thought, was a very good introduction. They had Reigns and Ambrose sell like crazy for this guy.
Absolutely.
He was given a standing arm triangle, the katagatame for Roman Reigns and his judo background.
And holding him in the air where Roman Reigns' feet were dangling.
That was the best part of this, was Roman Reigns, who's this monster on television, the ease of which he just pulled him up and was strangling him in midair. It looked great. And then he did the same to Dean Ambrose, left them laying. This was a great introduction of a new monster and what you want to do, this feared new member of the Wyatt family.
It's true. And this, like I said, you already have a big man like Luke Harper who can do all the lack of a better term, all the finesse stuff.
I don't ever want to see Braun Strowman doing a suicide dive.
If he does that, I'm tapping out.
It might earn its name if he attempts that at this stage of the game.
Exactly. But, again, he doesn't have to do much. He's just a big beast. And we're talking huge, man. He dwarfed Luke Harper.
The next few weeks, they should be in six-mans with, like, lower-end guys, and it's just he gets the tag at the end, applies that arm triangle and just strangles them out, and they pass out, and you can get this guy over just with limited interaction, and Bray and Harper do the heavy lifting. He's there to be the big monster of the three, so he's got that role. So I thought this was a very good introduction of a new character, and certainly a lot of focus will be on him. Then we took a turn on this particular show with Ms. TV, who was in the ring with PCB. This name, now I've got this visual in my head when I hear this name, because Paige did this Q&A over the weekend at a Comic-Con and was talking about the submission sorority name and how as soon as they were given the name, she typed it up and found out of the porn attachment to this name. And she was going to go warn them about it. And there's this big line outside of Vince's office, and she just said, forget it. And then later they came and they had to change the name, and they came up with some alternatives. One of them was Misfits, M-I-S-S Fits. It was okay. And she hates this name, PCB, which she said it sounds like skin ointment, which is what I'm going to think of now when I hear PCB, which is kind of what it sounds like, something your doctor might recommend you if you have a rash.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. You need to go to the drugstore and get.
These women were, I think, irritated after this particular match from this audience.
I know the audience was irritated, that's for sure. I didn't like this segment at all. It was...
This was everything people complain about this, where Miz was in the middle with PCB and all of the Bellas, and it was campy, terrible WWE scripted lines that were so unnatural, and there was a giant disconnect.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. That nothing felt genuine. Nothing felt like they were actually interacting. It just felt like a total, scripted promo. Exactly. That's what it felt like, and they were going through their lines and badly.
Miz was trying to play the antagonist of trying to get the women of PCB to be kind of putting the focus on Becky getting the fall during the elimination match at SummerSlam and trying to create dissension. And they're saying they're a team, they're unified. Charlotte said it's about a team, which is what her father taught her, because he was the leader of the greatest faction in WWE history, the Four Horsemen, which did not get her any brownie points from this audience at all.
No.
Then they had Paige calling Miz a pervert as he was trying to hit on them, and then says that they'll take on any woman, any man, and then Becky chimes in mentioning they won't draw the line at women or men, they'll take on dinosaurs and cyborgs, and trying to emphasize she's the crazy one. Oh, God, vomit-inducing, some of this material she had to recite. And then Paige cut this promo about this being the era of the female athlete and not about designer labels. And the Bellas come out. Nikki says that calling themselves the dominant diva is like Donald Trump saying his favorite holiday is Cinco de Mayo, as this holiday continued to sink. And
not even Dennis Miller could.
Oh God, this was just very badly written on many levels. Alicia Fox then talks about seeing many rookie divas come and go. They argue in the ring until Miz stops them, and then Miz says that PCB are nothing but a hashtag who wrestle like a bunch of girls, because apparently that's an insult. And then everyone fights in the ring. The Bellas jump PCB, and this was highlighted by the crowd chanting for Sasha, who was not even on the show tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I guess was probably a directive that they knew the reaction she would get, and they didn't want her to receive that positive response as she's being positioned as a heel on Raw, which, I mean, you could say, I guess that's the character we want for Sasha. At the same time, everyone saw her on your television on Saturday have this, what will go down as a legendary WWE women's match, and to not have Sasha on this show, it just felt kind of empty.
No, yeah, I agree. And even though we talk about how the NXT audience is, NXT brand caters to a different audience than the main roster brand, we have noticed that the Divas division has not been working. And maybe changing the Divas division to resemble that more of what we see on the NXT brand would help that. We're not getting it. We're not getting it at all. And I think that's hurting this Divas revolution, so to speak.
You want to see the biggest difference between the NXT women's division and the Divas division? I'll throw out the match on Saturday. I mean, that was a tremendous match.
Yep.
Look at, comparing apples to apples and watch this segment of Miz TV and then go back to NXT last week and the contract signing with Bayley and Sasha. You tell me how those women were presented differently in speaking roles on both shows. Throw the match out the window and just compare how they were presented as characters. And one, the audience was living and dying through on Saturday, and the others, the crowd was doing the wave as a result.
Exactly. And I think the biggest difference is correct me if I'm wrong here, John, but I believe that in NXT, even though the promos, you are guided through your promos, but you are given some liberties and some creativity to express yourself.
That's what NXT. They always say about in NXT is that they very much are trying to get over more to bullet points and establishing that as kind of how the people are learning in NXT.
See, and I get the point. I mean, obviously, it's not for everybody, but it's like someone like a Stone Cold Steve Austin. How could someone write lines for Steve Austin and say this is what Steve Austin would say? They don't know what he'd say.
They had the 6-woman tag here, Bella Twins and Alicia against PCB. The crowd was chanting for blue pants. Then they got into the wave. The women, you could tell, were frustrated. Afterwards, Paige was tweeting about the crowd. And, it goes both ways. I mean, This is not going to be an overnight transition for the audience. And at times, they turn on men's matches a lot too. So it's not as if, it's not going to be an easy transition at all. No. This thing went 14 minutes and 10 seconds, a lengthy match. Ending with Charlotte and Lynch being knocked off the apron by Brie, and then Nikki hitting a forearm to Paige, and then Fox hitting the scissors kick, and Alicia Fox pins Paige. So a long match, and the crowd kind of just took this one over, chants of "We are awesome," and the announcers put them over as this great crowd. And Paige was upset about this, and Sasha was upset last week after the women's match. So you're getting a response from the women who are, upset with the crowd, and the crowd isn't exactly digging what they're being presented. So
but again, like you said, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They want to be presented with something different with the Divas Revolution, and it started off well, but has regressed back to, I guess, the way it was.
This week on Review-A-Wai, Wai Ting and I are going to be reviewing the Marine 4 Moving Target, starring The Miz and featuring some limited roles from Summer Rae. It's this Wednesday up at liveaudiowrestling.com. Tune in. Quick angle here. King Barrett and Stardust were out, presumably for a tag match, when all of a sudden Stardust attacked Barrett and left him laying. And then Neville ran out, and there were Cody chants. Neville runs out. He attacks Stardust, sets him up for the Red Arrow, and Stardust bails. Barrett just felt like he was just lost here, attacked by another heel, left for dead, and then the focus of the segment was not even on him. He was an afterthought here. Right. So Poor Barrett.
Well, you know what? Again, maybe this means he goes back to being Bad News Barrett and kind of like a babyface.
Well, this was a bad news segment for him, so maybe he will move on.
Being king is bad news, too. It's not good to be the king always.
Not always. They plugged the Dudleys for SmackDown this coming Wednesday in Canada, Thursday in the U.S. And then Jon Stewart is out, and the crowd, they're chanting, "Thank you, Stewart." I mean, they love this guy. Said he didn't want to help Seth Rollins retain the title or help the Authority. He just couldn't let John Cena tie Ric Flair's record, and then says the champ is Flair, which, again, positive reaction here. And then Ric Flair comes out, gets a great reaction, and he hugs Stewart and says he was rooting for John Cena, and he respects John Cena, and this got some boos from the audience. Flair says Stewart has messed everything up as a result of his interference on Sunday. This prompts John Cena to come out, 2 boos, and he cuts this passionate promo on the United States title, giving talent a shot against the best every single week. Jon Stewart, I thought, on the microphone was a negative to this because he was constantly trying to get in these one-liners and these comedy bits, and Cena's trying to cut an impassioned promo, and that's where this falls apart for me because John Cena is presenting this, he's this serious champion, this serious guy, but he got this match cost to him by this actor, comedian, and he's out here, and it was like one guy was just doing this for fun. Cena's supposed to be conveying what a big loss this was to him, losing this title, and Stewart gave his reaction to this, saying he did have a great match. He respects John Cena, but just couldn't see him tying Flair's record, and says Cena can win the title back. And it ends with Cena hitting the AA. So that's your mainstream clip that I'm sure will be showing all over the place. And Stewart did sell it. And what'd you think of this segment, how it came across? Because this seemed to be the write-off of Jon Stewart. There will not be anything beyond this. I totally agree with you. I didn't like the fact that Jon Stewart kept trying to... It almost felt like he was trying to one-up him. Yeah. And I don't... See... He was going for punchlines, literally, and Cena called him out for it, which I felt was like Cena could tell that Stewart was detracting from a serious promo that
exactly.
Cena was trying to
and
convey.
Cena had no choice but to call him out on it. I mean, I don't blame him one bit for doing it. And even when he did call him out on it, he kept doing it. I mean, like, he just didn't get the fact that, listen, there's a time to listen and a time to talk. And Jon Stewart just doesn't get that at that time. It was time for him to shut up and let Cena cut his promo. So it's all in the perspective that you approach this with. I mean, yes, you got a lot of mainstream attention for this with Jon Stewart. I think that could have been achieved without having to muddy the waters so much. I'm glad they at least gave Cena something because he was really made to look dumb at SummerSlam and would have looked even worse if he didn't have something here in retaliation for Jon Stewart and getting that spot at the end. And then Stewart was helped to the back. This Sunday on The Law, we will be joined by 2 guests. John Andoska, the director of the brand new documentary on the Mid-Atlantic wrestling territory. He'll stop by to chat his new project, and Jason Agnew's interview with Jake the Snake Roberts. This Sunday night, 11 p.m. Eastern. Renee interviews Cena in the back, saying he needs to have a talk with Seth Rollins tonight, teasing the final segment. 8-man tag, Dolph Ziggler, Cesaro, Ryback, and Randy Orton against Rusev, Kevin Owens, Sheamus, and Big Show. Cesaro identified as the Chuck Norris of the WWE by Byron Saxton, who had a number of new lines for Cesaro, including the uppercut train, as Cesaro ran back and forth from corner to corner with European uppercuts to Kevin Owens. So Byron is, I don't know, he's really on the Cesaro train. Yeah, well, somebody needs to help him out with some of his... they got to reel in Byron. Yeah, please reel him in. I mean, obviously he has not watched any episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, so he has no idea what Chuck Norris is about. Anyway. Dolph Ziggler, we mentioned earlier, he's kind of ditched the spandex shorts and now is wearing spandex tights. Yeah. I don't know how this look is... I don't know. It's kind of like a spangled black and pink attack kind of. Him and Lana are just a bit of a fashion disaster at this point. I didn't know that rhinestones and tie-dye go together well. But anyway. This match went almost 18 minutes. They went through 2 commercial breaks. I mean, the crowd was not going nuts up until the point where Summer slapped Dolph Ziggler and Lana tackled her on the floor, and this crowd went nuts for these two. I mean, that spot
It works every time involving those two.
Yeah, you wait for Kramer to come out and start yelling "kicky cat fight." That's about it.
The finish was pretty well done here, where Orton ducked a KO punch and Big Show hit Sheamus, and into the RKO, Orton pinned Sheamus, getting his win back from the night prior at SummerSlam. As we mentioned, went about 18 minutes, and then afterwards, Rusev and Owens turn on the Big Show for his screw-up. They attack him. Then Ziggler and the babyfaces return. Ziggler super kicks him, and then Ryback and Cesaro press Big Show in the air for an RKO in midair. So everyone turned on Big Show here. I believe there was a brief babyface turn before quickly reverting back to a heel when all the babyfaces attacked him. And this felt like just everyone. Big Show is like this island where everybody hates him, was what they were trying to emphasize here, and just kind of a lost character.
I think the problem is, and I like Big Show the man. I just Big Show the character right now. I don't think anybody really cares whether he's a babyface or a heel or whatever, or an island unto himself, as Gordon Soley used to say back in the day. People just not invested in the Big Show right now.
Then we saw throughout the night they were showing various statues being unveiled over the last few years with Warrior, Andre, and Bruno. There was a Wyatt family promo where Bray said he tried to warn Roman Reigns. He said Roman infects everything and everyone around him, including Dean, who's another pawn being pulled into this, and then introduces Braun Strowman as the new member of their group. Cena is shown walking into the back, and he walks into Triple H and Stephanie, who are not happy about what he did to Jon Stewart, and people online calling him a sore loser, and has security escort John Cena out of the building so he can't ruin the Rollins celebration, and that was the last we saw of John Cena for the night. Interact 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with Law Radio on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and join the discussion at lawradio.proboards.com.
Next week on Impact Wrestling, 3 TNA championships will be on the line as the Wolves defend the TNA World Tag Team Championship against the Revolution. The voluptuous Velvet Sky challenges the vivacious Brooke for the TNA Knockouts Championship, and Tigre Uno defends his X Division Championship against DJZ and Sonjay Dutt. Plus, who's behind the mysterious attacks going on backstage? Drew Galloway wants answers. Next week on Impact Wrestling.
Final segment here. The large box is in the ring, covering up the statue, we are led to believe, as Triple H and Stephanie come out. And before they get into their promo, they mention it is Vince McMahon's 70th birthday, and they sing Happy Birthday as just complete baby faces, and then, like Big Show magic, snap their fingers to get into heel mode here on television.
I think at the end of the Happy Birthday song, everybody that was standing in Gorilla exited Gorilla.
Probably.
I would think nobody stuck around.
Yeah, Stephanie was quick to say Vince was not going to be happy about this and would not be coming out to acknowledge his birthday. I'm sure he's not excited about the big 7-0.
No, I think he's less excited about even being mentioned.
Rollins then comes out and says tonight he joins Mount Rushmore. This is bigger than the Hall of Fame. Disses the Brooklyn Nets. Says that Cena has worked every single day to be the man, and he has been the man for the last 10 years. He puts this statue over as the greatest thing of all time. I thought Rollins did a very good job of milking this reveal and putting this statue over as, you know, the greatest accomplishment of his life. Not his career, his life.
Yeah, and I like the fact that in his promo he put over John Cena huge, which is what he did, which is what heels do. They put over the baby faces, but then tell you how much better they are than the guy that they just put over. So they're, you know,
don't run down the guy, because then it's who have you beaten?
Exactly.
That's the whole idea and the psychology of that. And then they're teasing it, and finally they pull down the covering, and the statue is gone. We never found out what happened to the statue, but there is Sting, who has just stood through this entire promo under this tarp, and Sting attacks Rollins, sends him to the floor, and he holds up the title to end the show. Got the big surprise pop, and it is going to be Seth Rollins defending the WWE title against Sting at Night of Champions.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. I really don't mind it at all, and I like the fact that they saved Sting and didn't put him on SummerSlam, which would have
he would have been lost in the shuffle, to be honest.
Exactly. Now Night of Champions becomes a must-see pay-per-view or network special, whatever you want to call it, because of the fact that Sting is wrestling for the WWE Championship, or as JBL called it, the one title that has eluded Sting his entire career.
Yes, so that'll be the main event at Night of Champions. After watching Seth Rollins in particular on Sunday night, this is the guy I want to see in the ring with Sting. If someone's going to get a really great match out of Sting at this stage of his career, I think it's going to be Seth Rollins. And I'm just curious to see the kind of match that these two have. And now this could change, but one of the ideas on the table is, because it's Night of Champions, that Seth Rollins will also defend the U.S. title on this show against John Cena. So maybe that will be announced next week, if that is the plan they proceed with. But therefore, you'd be getting 2 matches with Rollins. As he's got the dual programs, that makes sense that he would have to do it.
It makes absolute sense. And if he can get by one and get, sneak by Cena, or even if Cena beats him earlier for the U.S. title, but he manages to get by Sting and still retain the WWE Championship, it still benefits everybody involved.
So that is coming up in 4 weeks in Houston, Texas. It's the Night of Champions card, and they did do a brief announcement by Triple H on the network after Raw, confirming Seth Rollins against Sting for Night of Champions, but that was the only official match that they did announce. Your thoughts on Raw overall coming out of SummerSlam and what they have put in place?
I thought there was a lot of talking, but
only 4 matches on the show.
Only 4 matches on the show. Outside of the ladies' matches, I thought everything else was just fine, and it actually was really good at setting up what's coming up for Night of Champions. It's working for me. At least we got the main event out of it anyways.
Yeah, I guess certainly a loose end in regards to Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. I mean, it had been floating around if The Undertaker would be on Raw or not. Obviously was not. And, I mean, you don't have to address that immediately, but I think the third match, it certainly is coming, and whether it's at WrestleMania or it's sooner, they've kind of left that one dangling, right. And I'll be curious when we see Brock Lesnar next. It probably won't be before Night of Champions, and we just know October 3rd he'll be on that house show.
Right, and I'm looking forward to finding out when it's going to happen, because I think a third match is going to be good. And the match they had Sunday was the match we were hoping for at WrestleMania, but obviously The Undertaker got dinged up early, so.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up for the televised portion of Review-A-Wai. You can catch the entire podcast up at liveaudiowrestling.com. We're going to be taking some of your feedback and questions for the ref, Jimmy Corderas, who you can catch as well on Aftermath TV. And when can people watch that in Canada?
It airs immediately after SmackDown on a rival network.
Oh yes, the unnamed rival network.
Yes,
but I want to thank Jimmy very much for stepping in for Wai Ting, who will be back this Wednesday on Review-A-Wai. The two of us, we're sitting down to watch the Marine 4. Let's not confuse it. The Marine 4 moving target with The Miz and Summer Rae. I'm sure you haven't seen it yet, Jimmy.
You're absolutely correct. I have not.
Well, don't. Spoiler alert. But for Jimmy Corderas, I am John Pollock. You can catch Review-A-Wai every Tuesday, 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern here on Fight Network, and we'll chat with you this Wednesday on Review-A-Wai.